Hi, I'm John Barber, Editor-in-Chief at IDW Publishing, and welcome to Barber's Shop. So everyone's still at home finding new and old ways to pass the time. Maybe you're getting into RPGs, maybe pen and paper, and Zoom is the way to go for you. Maybe it's with some video games. I actually just started playing Final Fantasy VII this weekend. Not the remake, the original one. I've never played it before. I've actually never played any Final Fantasy before. But video games or pen and paper, one thing that's always there is D&D. And D&D I have played for a long time. I go back decades. Actually, here's my D&D dice bag, as if to prove this. So when I got a chance to edit IDW's D&D comics a few years ago, I was real excited. And one of my favorite series that I got to work on, and there were a few that I really liked, one of my favorites has just been reprinted in a new edition called D&D Days of Endless Adventure. Now the writer of this whole series is Jim Zub, and he and I go way back to a website called moderntales.com where we made webcomics in the early 2000s. He and I, he did a series there called The Makeshift Miracle, and he later redid it with a different artist while he was at the company Udon. But actually, here's the original that Jim drew. I don't mean to embarrass him, I just really love this comic, and I really wanted to work with him. I don't know if he really wanted to work with me, but I really liked his stuff. Work together we did, years later. I was at Marvel, and I was working on a comic. I was editing a comic that was for I think the Fruit and Vegetable Council. It was something about eating the right amount of fruits and vegetables every day. And the art was provided by Udon, and Jim was working at Udon, so we got to work together on that. Now, fast forward a few years, I'm at IDW. I'm talking to Wizards of the Coast about a new D&D series, and we want to bring back Minsk and Boo from the Baldur's Gate video games. Now, these were RPG computer games that started in the late 90s. They're from BioWare. They're really influential, really popular. Without them, you wouldn't have stuff like Dragon Age or Mass Effect. They were super huge games, and Minsk is a big goofy ranger, and Boo is his giant miniature space hamster, and they're great. So I got Jim to pitch on it because I knew he was a big D&D fan, and he immediately blew everybody away with two things: with his storytelling sense and his knowledge of D&D, and then a third thing, which is his ability to combine those other two. And what I mean is he's able to make a really fun and accessible and exciting story it's a great fantasy story for everybody, but it also feels like D&D, and it has a little something extra for D&D fans. So if somebody casts a magic missile in a Jim Zub script, you can be sure they're casting it right. Now, Jim suggested an artist that I wasn't familiar with, a guy named Max Dunbar. And he sent me some samples, and I could tell there was something really special with Max. His stuff was dynamic and was full of personality, just like the characters Jim was writing. So that first D&D series led into a second with Nelson Daniel on art, and then another with Netho Diaz drawing. And those two, like the current D&D series, which is actually by Jim and Max again, those are all edited by my friend David Hedgecock. But all three of the original stories are reprinted in Days of Endless Adventure under a super cool new cover by Hydro74, who did the redesign of the D&D rulebooks, so these will match nicely in your bookshelf. Now check out our web store or your local comic shop or bookseller and grab a copy for yourself. D&D is a great way to keep in touch with human beings. Speaking of which, if you have any comments or questions about our library of titles, about upcoming books, about space hamsters, leave them in the comments below, and I'll answer what I can. Now, as always, support your local comic shop if you're able. Maybe check out some new books, or some books that are new to you that you might not have checked out before. That's all for this week. Remember, you can keep up with IDW using your favorite social media. Check back here every week for news and updates. Thanks for watching.